considered myself a rational person, grounded in science and facts. As a paramedic with years of experience, I'd seen my share of inexplicable events, but nothing prepared me for the encounter that haunts me to this day. It was a quiet night, the kind that makes you uneasy, as if the calm is just a prelude to chaos. My partner and I were stationed near the outskirts of town when the dispatcher's voice crackled over the radio. Unresponsive mail at St. Mary's Orphanage, no further details. We arrived to find the orphanage eerily silent. The matron, pale and trembling, led us to a small room where a boy lay motionless. His skin was ashen, lips tinged blue, but there was an unsettling serenity on his face. As we began resuscitation efforts, the door creaked open, and an unfamiliar doctor entered. He wore an outdated lab coat, his eyes hidden behind round spectacles. Without a word, he took over, his hands moving with practiced precision. I watched in disbelief as he produced instruments I'd only seen in medical museums. He performed procedures that defied modern medical understanding, yet the boy's vital signs stabilized. Before I could question him, he vanished, leaving no trace. The next day, I inquired about the doctor, but the staff insisted no such person existed. Records showed no recent hires or visiting physicians. The boy, now recovering, had no memory of the incident. I was left questioning my own sanity. Weeks later, I stumbled upon an old photograph in the orphanage's archives. It was the same doctor, dated 1925. He had been the orphanage's resident physician, rumored to appear in times of dire need. I realized I had encountered a benevolent spirit, a guardian of the forsaken. To this day, I remain a man of science, but I can't deny what I witnessed. Some forces exist beyond our comprehension, blurring the line between the living and the departed. In the quiet moments of the night, I sometimes feel a presence, a reminder that not all who wander are lost. The relentless sun of Andalusia beat down upon me as I stood atop the familiar hill, the valley stretching out below. Memories of my childhood home, nestled among white chapels and sprawling vineyards, flooded my mind. This was where it all began, and where I intended it to end. For years, an enigmatic figure had trailed me, always at the edge of my perception. No matter how far I ran or where I hid, he was there, a constant, silent shadow. Today, I resolved to confront this relentless pursuer. As I waited, the figure emerged from the bend in the trail, his gait uneven, supported by a weathered cane. His face remained obscured, but his presence exuded an air of inevitability. My heart pounded, but I stood firm, clutching the knife in my hand. He halted a few paces before me, lifting his head to reveal hollow, dark eyes that seemed to pierce through me. "Why do you run?" he asked, his voice a raspy whisper. I raised the knife, my hand trembling, ready to end the torment. Before I could act, he spoke again. "I am not your enemy. I am your fate." A wave of realization washed over me. This wasn't a man, but a manifestation of my own fears and regrets, pursuing me relentlessly. The knife slipped from my grasp, clattering to the ground. Tears blurred my vision as I whispered, "What do you want from me?" He extended a hand, not in menace, but in understanding. "To accept yourself," he replied. In that moment, the weight of years of running lifted, and I took his hand, embracing the parts of myself I had long denied. The figure dissipated like mist in the morning sun, leaving me alone on the hill. But I was no longer the same. I descended the path with a newfound sense of peace, ready to face whatever lay ahead, no longer haunted by the specter of my past. I found the game at a flea market, an old, dust-covered Nintendo 64 cartridge with no label, just "For You" scrawled in black marker across the front. The old man selling it smiled too wide, his yellowed teeth peeking through cracked lips. "It remembers," he whispered as I handed him a crumpled bill. I thought he was just a lunatic, but later that night, as I inserted the cartridge, I would realize he was warning me. The title screen flickered before stabilizing, but something was off. The usual music sounded distorted, like a warped tape. There was a single save file, a completed game named Watching. I selected it, and my character stood alone in a vast, empty field, the game's textures warped and glitching. Then he turned his head to face the camera and smiled. I tried to exit, but the screen glitched violently, pixels breaking apart like shattered glass. The sound became an unbearable shriek before everything went black. Then a message appeared. You can't leave. My reflection in the dark screen wasn't my own. After shutting the game off, my computer turned on by itself. A single file sat on my desktop. IamHere.txt. I opened it. Why did you turn me off? The game's music played from my speakers even though the console was unplugged. Then, from the dark corner of my room, something moved. The more I played, the worse it got. My character now moved on his own, wandering into rooms that shouldn't exist. Walls pulsed like they were alive. The game whispered my name, and then I heard it. Not from my speakers, from behind me. I tried to erase the game. I deleted every file, smashed the cartridge, burned the remains, but when I checked my computer, a new message blinked on my screen. Deleting me won't delete you. And in the reflection of my monitor, I saw it. It had my face. It was grinning. I don't play games anymore. But sometimes when I close my eyes, I still hear the music, and when I turn off the lights, the screen